The chicken wing, man, it is frustrating. We feel like we're putting out so much effort coming through contact. We feel like we're really pushing with our hands, our forearms, our arms, really trying to accelerate that club coming through. But in reality, it slows the club down. Not to mention, we're gonna see that left arm really start to fold up. So if you're not familiar with exactly how to measure to see if you have a chicken wing, let me show you how. As you watch your swing on video, so if you don't have video of your swing, very easy to do on today's phones. Just go to the slow motion option in your video, click on that, and then videotape your swing from face on. And what I'm looking for here is as you come through contact, I want to see this left arm be nice and straight as you're coming past the ball, what we would call our straight line release in the Top Speed Golf system. I want to see that nice and fully extended. If at that point in the swing or just past impact, you notice it from your upper left arm to the elbow and then down to the wrist makes it angle, that's what we call the chicken wing. Now I'm going to go over exactly how to solve this from your swing, how to get more speed and acceleration coming through the ball and make the swing feel like a whole lot less effort and get rid of those hands and arms pushing through contact. Let's go ahead and get started. So what is the root cause of the chicken wing? And really it comes from actually your hips and your body stopping from rotating through the shot. In a really good golf shot, what we should have happen is what we call the power turn in the Top Speed Golf system, meaning that we make a good turn coming back. And then as we rotate on through, we want these hips and shoulders opening up. You want your body opening up toward the target, and that allows you to release the club out in front. Now if my hips slow down, let's imagine they stop rotating. The only way to keep this club moving forward toward the target is to now use my hands and arms. And when I push my hands and arms toward the target, there's nowhere for my left arm to go because my body's in the way, it's not opening up. So as I push it across my body, you're gonna see that this left arm starts to fold up, and that's with my left elbow moving toward the target in that direction. Now, if I open up my body, now there's room for my left arm to stay straight. And the difference is in this left shoulder. If I close my hips, my shoulders can't open up, my shoulder stays in the same spot, and this is the only way to move that club forward is to get it doing this. If I let that shoulder clear out of the way now, all of a sudden I have all this room to extend my hands and arms and really get that club releasing in front of the golf ball. So if you're struggling chicken winging, most of the time what people will do is they'll struggle to keep their arms what they feel like is straighter. But if we don't clear the body out of the way, I can try to keep this left arm straight as long as I want to, but because of all the momentum in the swing, it's gonna fold up. It's also what we call conservation of angular momentum. Big fancy term, not really that complicated. Just imagine if we had a fan propeller blade, like your ceiling fan. Imagine my arm is that propeller, that fan blade. As long as that's swinging through, this club is gonna keep an angle to that. So imagine I tied this club to the ceiling fan. If I keep on rotating through, that's going to be able to keep on accelerating. What happens when I slow down? The club starts to whip forward. So when you do that in your swing, when I slow down my body too early, that club starts to whip forward and it's going to start slowing down unless I keep my arms moving, and it's an effort to keep everything going toward the target, which really causes the chicken wing. So now we've kind of broken it down what's going on there. Let's go ahead and fix it. All right, so there's two pieces to fixing this. There's one that's called hip extension, and then the other one is rotation, as we mentioned before. I'm gonna give you a drill to fix both of these very easily. So if I just put an alignment stick through my belt loops, it looks pretty goofy. I probably wouldn't do this at the driving range. People are gonna think you're nuts. But we can do this in the comfort of our living room, really get the hang of what's going on here. So what I'd like to have happen, again, if I do this incorrectly, as I start my downswing, my hips are gonna stall out. They're not very open at this point. And to keep the club moving forward, that arm chicken wings as I try to push the club toward the target. If I do this correctly, as I'm coming through contact, my hips are gonna be about 45 degrees open. You'll notice how my right arm is actually resting on this stick as I make this downswing. So my right arm is against this stick, my hips are open here, and now what's happened, I've made all this room to clear out my left shoulder out of the way. So if I grab this stick again, as I start my downswing, the hips are leading the way, they open up. As I come through contact, look how this left shoulder is way back here, opening out of the way, creating tons of space to keep my left arm straight as I'm coming through. Again, if I just try to keep my left arm straight, it's not gonna matter, it's not gonna happen. There's too much momentum there. But if I let my hips rotate open, now, because my shoulder's out of the way, there's all this area in here for my left arm to extend on through the shot. So here's what I want you to do for about 20 reps or so. Set up with this stick going through your belt loops. If you don't have a stick, use an old golf club, use anything you have sitting around. I'm gonna pause once as you go to contact, and I want my hips to be about 45 degrees open. If I'm doing this correctly, when I come into contact, my right forearm is kind of resting on this stick. That means that it's opened enough. If I find myself like this, with all this space between the club and my forearm, or the stick and my forearm, I know I've done this incorrectly. So I've got to get those hips opening up until I'm there at contact. Number two, I don't want to have this start coming over the top. With this stick in the way, one of the natural reactions I see is people start to come over the top a little bit. Feel like you're coming from the inside and then resting that stick on the forearm. So that's the first piece there. That's the rotation piece. I have to clear the body out of the way. Doing a good 20 reps is going to get a lot better feel with this. You're going to feel like there's tons more room to keep that left arm straight. Now, number two is extension. So I'll line this club up here again, this stick up here again. If I stay bent forward, so if I turn sideways here, if I bend forward like this, and now there's an angle between my legs and my pelvis, so my upper body and my lower body have an angle. Now put a club across my shoulders. The upper club would be in front of the lower stick. That would be what's called flexion. If I go into extension, that would be this way. So I'm really extended here. You can see how my club that's on my chest is behind the club on my hips. So this is flexion, this is extension. Well, if I'm using the chicken wing, a lot of what's happening is I'm staying in flexion. I'm staying bent forward, and again, using all hands and arms to try to push the club through. That looks something like this when I'm swinging, and now my left arm's folding up to try to keep everything moving through. What I need to do is go from flexion. As I come through, now I need to get an extension or feel like my body's going this way. Now what that allows you to do again, as I extend up, that clears that left shoulder. Look how the left shoulder is completely behind my body now. Look how that's going to turn my hand up and in, and that club is naturally just going to whip out really long away from my body. If you watch videos of Ben Hogan, you see he always does a fantastic job of this. Gets in that beautiful extension and comes in that nice full finish, really feeling like he's in balance. Again, for players that struggle, they stay in flexion and it looks something more like that. Do a good 20 reps, putting a club across your shoulders, going again down to impact. There's our impact position. And then as I come through, I'm in full extension. Now here, you'll notice my belt buckle is in front of my shoulder club. I'm not here, but I'm finishing there with my chest nice and high, my chin up, and I'm facing the target. 20 reps with that. Now when you put those two together, what you're going to start to notice is that you're really creating tons and tons of space cleared out of the way to get those arms to extend away, and it'll feel really effortless if you're doing this correct. So 20 reps of the first drill, opening hips, 20 reps coming up to a nice full finish, and then when you hit the range, we're going to put both these pieces together. We're opening the body, we're coming into that full extension, and again, remember, still let that club come from the inside. Still feel like you release that to the draw, and you're going to have a great looking golf swing with no chicken wing. Now we still have a problem here. We talked about how to get this club lagging behind, how to get our body opening up. Do we hold on and hold off the release, or do we let that club release on through the shot? On top of that, where do we release? Do we release at the golf ball? Do we release in front of the golf ball? Do we feel like our wrists are tight? Do we feel like they're loose? Well, I answer all those questions in what I call the straight line release in the Top Speed Golf system. Getting your body in a great position is going to be the first step. That's what we did in this video. The next step is adding the hands and arms and talking about when that club needs to release in the golf swing. I'm going to play a preview from one of my best straight line release videos. Just go ahead and click on the card on your screen or the link down below in the description. That'll get you instant access to that video. Let's nail that release. Let's go ahead and get started. A common misconception I see is that we want to create lag and we just want to hold that lag all the way on through contact and get as much lag as we can coming through contact, and that's simply not true. In the release section, we're going to talk about how to turn that lag into energy, how to turn that into speed so that you can hit it very far and do it, like we mentioned, without hardly any effort at all. And as we're coming through contact, we're going to fully release this angle as we're about 45 past contact. So if I draw, a 45-degree angle, I should be looking at both arms, nice and straight, the club splitting those arms, so that by releasing the club, by getting this angle to release as we're coming through contact, that's what's going to create the speed. Our hands are moving a very short distance, our club is moving a very long distance through contact, and it creates that whip-like effect. Very different swings, hitting the exact same position. So first let's take a look at Dustin Johnson, releasing the club 45 past, And the reason we're going to see such similar or such different swings producing similar positions is that this is the real physics of how this has to happen. Here we're looking at Sergio Garcia. Again, we're going to see tons of